In the heart of Lagos stood a towering edifice church known as the Mountain of Divine Power Ministries. The church was unlike any other, a cathedral wrapped in opulence. But the true marvel was not the church's grandeur. It was the woman who reigned within its walls, Pastor Agnes. She was not just a preacher, she was the woman of fire. Clad in flowing white robes with golden embroidery that shimmered under the bright lights, she spoke with a voice that crackled like embers, fiery, hypnotic, commanding. When she preached, her words wrapped around hearts like chains of conviction. People didn't just listen, they surrendered. Anyone that visits her church must visit again. The church was glorious and mighty. It is the best church in town, loved by all and never opposed by any. Everyone in the city talked about the church and the woman of God who God is using to perform such signs and wonders. She is generally called Woman of Fire. It is said that anyone that comes to the church with any kind of problem never leaves the same. People often say, go to the Woman of Fire with any problem and go home with solutions. She has solutions to everything. Miracles were undeniable. The blind left their walking sticks at the altar, their eyes wide with newfound sights. The cripple abandoned their wheelchairs, running laps around the church amidst tears and laughter. Women long declared barren carried twins, even triplets, swearing it was the touch of Pastor Agnes that broke their curses. The church is often filled with lots of testimonies. It was the same church that a 70-year-old woman testified that she gave birth to twins at the age of 70. Multiple times, the Woman of Fire had prayed and raised the dead, which will shock the whole city and spread through all over the country and beyond. Crowds flooded the church like rivers during the rainy season. People in the church are like the sands by the riversides of the beach. Politicians knelt at her feet, desperate for blessings before elections. At a point, it's as if every politician that wants to win election must come to her for her blessings. If you don't go to her, you won't win elections. Business tycoons offered fortunes to tap into her anointings. Celebrities whispered her names in reverence, seeking her prayers before signing multi-million-dollar deals. Even governors waited in line like ordinary men, their heads bowed, their pride forgotten. She was loved, she was worshipped, she was feared. But no one knew her secrets. Behind her radiant smile and holy proclamations, Pastor Agnes, the Woman of Fire, harbored a darkness older than Lagos itself. She was not God's anointed. Her power was not from heaven. She was an agent of the waters, bound to a covenant soaked in blood and deception. But no one ever suspected that, because people were blind by the miracles she performed day and night. Some will even say, I don't care if she is truly from God or not. All I care about is to go there and find my solution. And as they wished, it seemed she had the solution to every problem. But no one knew her deep secrets. Years before her name echoed through Lagos, Agnes had been nothing more than a struggling preacher. Her small church sat forgotten on the outskirts of the city, hidden between crumbling buildings and dusty streets. The wooden pews were often empty, her sermons echoing off bar walls. She barely has members. You can count her members in seconds. At some point, she felt devastated. She was unhappy with the situation. She struggled to pay bills. She struggled to even feel that she sometimes couldn't afford 2 square meals. She fasted for days, prayed until her knees bled, and cried rivers of desperate pleas. But heaven remained silent. She was frustrated. At this point, she was beginning to doubt if God truly exists. Or does it mean that there is something she's not doing right? She was confused and desperate. She wants to give up the pastoral job, but the problem is this: what else can she do to survive apart from this pastoral work? She has passion for it. She went to many places for solutions to help her ministries grow. She went to native doctors, shrines, mountains, but it's as if the world was all against her. Nothing was working out. Her church is often empty. No members, no money. One night, as she knelt alone in the flickering candlelight of her tiny church, frustration boiling in her chest, a sudden cold wind swept through the room. The flames shivered and dimmed, casting long twisted shadows on the wall. The air grew thick, heavy, as if the darkness itself had substance. Then she appeared. An old woman, hunched and wrapped in tattered red clothes, materialized from the shadows. Her skin was dark as coal, her eyes glowing faintly like dying embers. Despite her frail appearance, her presence filled the room with invisible weights. "Do you seek power?" the old woman rasped, her voice layered with echoes, as if countless voices spoke through her. Agnes's heart pounded, but ambition drowned her fear. "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling. The woman's cracked lips curled into a smile that held no warmth. "Then, follow me." Agnes was really scared, but she was desperate and ready to face anything just to see her ministry grow. So therefore, without questioning, Agnes obeyed. She followed the woman deep into the outskirts of Lagos, far from the city's noise and neon lights. They trekked through dense forest where the moonlight barely touched the ground, and the trees whispered secrets in the wind. Eventually, they reached a sacred river, its waters shimmering unnaturally under the full moon, glowing with an ethereal light. The old woman gestured to the river. "She waits for you." Suddenly, the water rippled violently. From its depths, something emerged. A mermaid. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, cascading around her face like mist. Her emerald green eyes gleamed with ancient intelligence, piercing straight into Agnes's soul. Her skin glistened like polished scales, and her voice was both a melody and a chorus, as beautiful as it was dangerous. "You seek power." The mermaid's voice danced through the air, hypnotic. Agnes fell to her knees, tears of desperation streaming down her face. "Yes, I will do anything to be great," anything to see my ministry strive. I want to be great. Please, make me great. The mermaid's laughter was soft, yet it echoed like thunder. Power always has a price, child. I don't care, Agnes guessed. I will pay it. As long as you will give me what I want, I will give you whatever you want. I am ready. The mermaid's eyes darkened, turning black as the depths from which she rose. Then listen well. In exchange for power, you will sacrifice the innocent. Bring me the destinies of children, I mean virgins, children who are without sin. You will deliver their destinies to me. I will give you a ring which you must always wear. Any child you touch with the ring, his or her destiny will come to my kingdom. Some you will sacrifice their blood. Do this for me, and I will make you queen amongst men. Without hesitation, Agnes agreed. She made a deal with the devil. It's a creeper deal. That night, she was reborn. She drowned as a human and rose from the river as something else. Her soul tethered to the waters, her heart wrapped in shadows. The mermaid's mark glistened faintly beneath her skin, invisible to all but those who could see beyond the veil. The following Sunday, Agnes stood behind her pulpit, her Bible open, her heart beating with newfound power. Members started to come from nowhere. She was surprised to see the new changes. When she spoke, her voice was different, richer, heavier, laced with an invincible thread that pulled at the hearts of everyone who listened. Her words seeped into the bones of her congregation, wrapping around their minds like vines. People flocked to her. The sick were healed with just a touch. The barren conceived after a single prayer. The lame leaped. The blind saw. The deaf heard. The news spread like wildfire. A true woman of God had risen in Lagos. Her small church could no longer contain the crowds. She purchased land in the city's heart, and a magnificent cathedral rose, its towers kissing the sky, funded by the offerings and grateful followers. But every miracle had a hidden cost. Whenever she laid her hands on a child's head, whispering blessings in the name of God, she was not blessing them, she was stealing their destinies, draining their potentials to fuel her power. The children she blessed grew up hollow, their lives shadowed by misfortune. Some wandered through life, lost, purposeless. Others fell into depression, addiction, or even death. But no one connected to the dots. Blinded by the miracles and deafened by the roaring crowds, they could not see the truth. They worshipped her as if she were divine. Agnes's wealth grew. She drove the finest cars, wore designers' clothes, and lived in a mansion guarded by iron gates and armed men. But even as she basked in luxury, she remained bound to her dark covenants. At night, she visited the sacred river, offering rituals, sacrifices to the mermaid. Blood soaked the waters, feeding the entity beneath. She consulted the mermaid, strengthened her spiritual defenses, and silenced anyone who grew suspicion. She was untouchable. Somewhere around the town, there was a very powerful man of God who is also known to be powerful, even though he is not as popular as Pastor Agnes, the woman of fire. His name was Pastor Jerry. He was unlike Agnes, a humble man from a small town. His reputation was not built on miracles, but on truth. He preached with simplicity that resonated deeply. His words filled with an undeniable presence, the true power of God. When he arrived in Lagos, the city was already under Agnes's spell. But Jerry's spirit stirred with unease the moment he heard her name. "Something is wrong," he whispered to his wife one evening after hearing her preach on the radio. He suspected something was not perfectly alright about Pastor Agnes. He prayed, fasting for clarity, and in a vision he saw it, a serpent hidden in the plain sight, wrapped around the hearts of the people. The next Sunday, Jerry stood before his congregation, his voice filled with righteous fire. "Pastor Agnes is not of God," he declared boldly. "She is an agent of marine kingdom. She sacrifices children to maintain her power. Please, everyone must be careful of places and churches they go. Don't be deceived by the miracles you see. These are mere magics. All that glitters is not gold." The city erupted. Some were shocked, others were furious. How could anyone accuse the beloved woman of fire of such evil? She was a saint, a prophetess. Some people believed Pastor Jerry was only envious, jealous about Pastor Agnes's achievements. Some of Pastor Jerry's members even stopped coming to his church for accusing the almighty Pastor Agnes, the woman of fire. Agnes's reaction was swift. She used her connections to discredit Jerry. The police were bribed to arrest him on false charges. He was thrown into a dark, damp prison cell, left to rot. But Jerry did not curse or cry. He knows the God he serves. "I will fast for 21 days, he vowed, kneeling on the cold floor. "And when I rise, the truth shall be revealed." Throughout Pastor Jerry's stay in the prison, he was fasting and praying. As Jerry fasted, the spiritual realm trembled. The kingdom of darkness was shaken. The mermaid felt the shift, her connection to Agnes flickering with the approach of divine judgment. One night, as Jerry prayed fervently, a supernatural storm raged outside the prison. The sky turned blood red, lightning streaking across the heavens like divine swords. The very ground quaked. Pastor Jerry knew his prayer has been answered, and the truth shall be revealed soon, pretty soon. The whole world would know who was truly called by God between him and Pastor Agnes. On the 21st day, a blinding light struck the prison gates, and they shattered. The chains binding Jerry snapped like twigs. It was just like that of Paul and Silas. He rose, his face radiant with holy fire. Without hesitation, he marched straight to Agnes's cathedral, now packed with thousands, eager for their weekly dose of deception. Agnes stood on the pulpit, preaching with the same charm and authority. But as Jerry entered, her words faltered. The moment their eyes met, the spiritual marks she wore cracked. "Agnes!" Jerry's voice thundered, echoing through the massive hall. Your time is up." A heavy silence fell. The congregation turned, gasping. Agnes snared her face, contorted with something inhuman. "You dare challenge me? Here. So you have a death wish." "I do not challenge you," Jerry declared. "God does." Pastor Jerry started praying in the Holy Ghost. He started calling the name of God to come to his aid and put the devil to shame. Agnes was only laughing at him. She was not scared at all because she trusted herself. She felt that she has the power from the Almighty Mermaid. Nothing would harm her. She is untouchable. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. A dark wind rushed through the cathedral, extinguishing candles, toppling chairs. Agnes screamed, a sound not meant for human ears. Her skin rippled as if something beneath struggled to break free. Before the stunned crowd, her form began to change. Her arms melted into fins, her legs fused into gleaming tail covered in scales. Her face twisted into something monstrous, yet mesmerizing. She was a mermaid. It was like a drama. It was like a movie. Agnes, the almighty pastor, had turned to a mermaid. The whole church, the whole congregation, her members could see everything with their naked eyes. The congregation screamed in terror. Some fainted, others fled, tripping over themselves. With a final blood-curdling wail, Agnes vanished in a whale of dark mist. Her deception shattered. The mighty cathedral crumbled around them, reduced to rubble. Everyone was surprised and took to their feet. People trooping out of the church with speed. They were all scared. Everyone ran for his life. It didn't take long before the rumor spread the whole city. It was so unbelievable. The almighty woman of fire was not real. She was demonic. The city mourned, not for Agnes, but for their blindness. They wept, tore down her posters, burned her images, and destroyed what remained of her church. Her name became a curse, spoken only in whispers. Everyone who ever went to Pastor Agnes's church was scared of their lives. They knew they've been affected in one way or the other. Now the whole world would believe Pastor Jerry was a true man of God. The whole crowd trooped to Pastor Jerry's church for deliverance. Pastor Jerry stood before the broken people, his heart heavy yet hopeful. Worship no man or woman, he preached, only the true and living God. The city was never the same again. No false prophet could ever rise with such power, for Lagos had learned its lesson the hard way. And as for Pastor Agnes, her name was erased from history, forgotten like ashes of a long dead fire. Pastor Agnes never returned. No one knew where she was or where she went. She vanished from earth. Maybe she's in the marine kingdom with the mermaid. This was how her once mighty church crumbled. And now, the pastor in town that everyone spoke of is Pastor Jerry. People believed in him and the God he served. Some legends say that Pastor Agnes was now in the sea, being tormented by the demons of the waters, since she could no longer bring them human sacrifices nor blood. Some also say Agnes is already in the pit of hell. On your own thoughts, where do you think Agnes might be?